welcome to this workshop officially. I'm very happy to have you here. It really is a great pleasure for me because I'm very interested in ethical AI, and I really wanted to have the opportunity to use this tool and get insights and collaborate and brainstorm with designers and people interested in this topic from around the world. So Miro provides a great platform to do that. So thank you very much for your time and your interest in this topic. So, my name is Johanny Pestalozzi. I am based in Zurich. I come originally from the Dominican Republic, and I have 11 years of cumulative work experience, 8 years working as a researcher and project manager, and 3 years working as a freelance UX designer. So, feel free to connect with me. I'm going to share um, the link of this board with you so that you can access it and you can then click on this card, and this will lead you directly to my LinkedIn profile. So if you're interested, we can remain connected and after the workshop. So this is it for now. So for those of you who are new to Miro, um, this is a frame to help you navigate the interface. Here at the bottom right, we can start with that. You have the zoom in and out functions. So you see here, you can also fit to screen, or you can pin a map so you can see where is everything, and you can, locate yourself to different sections of the board as you like. So on the left hand side, you have a set of features such as the select and the sticky notes. We're going to use this tool mainly today. So in the sticky note, if you just click, you have different colors and you just select and you can place a note wherever you like and resize it as you like on the interface. So if you have any questions, how to navigate or how to find something in the board during the workshop, feel free to ask me. I'm very happy to support you with that. And if you're more interested in learning how to further navigate, you can watch this video during or after the workshop just for your interest or for your information. Okay, so today's agenda is the following. First, we're going to have an icebreaker so that we get to know each other, where we are from, and what we are looking for in this workshop or what brought us here. Then I'm going to give you an introduction to the tool, and we will then go and work on the tool number 2 and risk 4 and 7. I'm going to give you more information. What is this about and how this is applicable to the use case that we will be discussing today. Finally, we're going to have a retrospective. This is actually supposed to be number 3, but these things happen live. Okay, I think I will take care of that later on. Okay, so I think we can start right away to the introduction section. I will bring all of you to this section, to me. And here the idea is that you find a picture of yourself, ideally, or an avatar as you like, and you insert it here. You have different options to insert images on the board. You can essentially drag and drop it, or you can import it. You just click on the left-hand side and you look for this icon, which is called upload, and then you can select where you want, where you have the picture, the image, to insert it here. Alternatively, you can go into the internet, to the web, and you just click an image, you copy the image, and then you just insert it here. And then the idea is that you use a sticky note. You can either duplicate this one. This is Control D, duplicate, as in many other applications, or you can search for the sticky notes feature here on the left-hand side menu. And then you answer this question. What brought you to this workshop? So essentially that. So what questions you have, what experience you have, what are you looking for? And then finally, a meme. That would be really nice, but it's, I would say, rather optional. A meme or a GIF or image that you associate with ethical AI. So let's dedicate 5 minutes to this, and then we can catch up and discuss in the group. Okay, let's go for it.
seems like the boxes got moved around a little bit.
Sorry?
It seems like the boxes got moved around a little bit.
Yeah, but let's see. Okay, I will try to adjust it. Let me see.
Just yeah.
No worries. I will try to block it, and now it should be fine. It's a typical one, kind of like you're on mute. Sorry about that. I will add 2 more minutes so that you can finalize the last parts. Great. So time's up. Now let's go through the board and see who is here with us. So let's start with Emily. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Emily Springer. I work right now as an independent consultant, primarily with the World Bank IFC on digital transformation with African universities. Previously, I worked Microsoft partner doing Dynamics build outs. But my passion project is ethical and feminist AI in international development, which is something that surprisingly people aren't talking about. So as an independent consultant, I'm a bit of a lone agent, and I would love to kind of connect with all of you and get into a conversation about all of this. And I selected the sort of image on the bottom here that is potentially classic for everybody now, but I really think we need to be working for equity and justice when it comes for AI, as in this image, which is something that I think we're all getting on the AI for good bandwagon, but without really thinking critically about how to operationalize that in a practical sense. So looking forward to meeting all of you. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emily, and welcome. All right, so let's move on to our next participant. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name.
That's me. Yeah, Boran Gilliam. You can also. Yeah, so I'm an ethicist. My background's in philosophy, and I still have a little bit of a foot in academia, but these days mostly I'm focused on the responsible AI space. And my direct connection to this space is one of the collaborators on a project that I founded called Accountability Case Lab. So we're trying to bring together folks interested in algorithmic accountability from different perspectives into collaborative workshops, especially. Yeah, and like common connection, with one of my amazing collaborators. I love seeing new approaches to collaborative workshops in this space, and I really wanted to show up today and see what's going to happen. I'm excited. Nice to meet you all.
Awesome, great. So we're happy to have you here, and we are also curious as you are. So we hope we can complement each other's knowledge in the topic and, yeah, remain in contact. Okay, so our next participant, let's just move on following the next one. So feel free to introduce yourself, please.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. My name is Flippa, and I am an AI researcher since last year. I'm working with a team in Berkeley, California, and what we're trying to do the best. I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can, but pretty much create and code a system where our AI is based more on animal behavior, which is why I kind of put the dog there, because we're trying to find ways that are, if we were to create like a pet dog AI, it would behave more like a dog based on instinct and training. And I'm here to learn more about that because this is a very new type of AI, and who knows where it'll go. Hopefully somewhere good.
Awesome, great. Happy to have you here. I'm just a little bit confused regarding what brought you here. How to work on air.
Oh, sorry, AI.
Okay, perfect. Now it makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, good. So welcome. So Jorge, I can pronounce your name well because I come from Latin America. So please go ahead. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I'm Jorge de la Mora. Until about a month ago, I was foresight strategist slash innovation strategist at Cognizant. Now I'm starting a master's in transportation design and future mobility. which is sort of the reasoning for the image that I posted below. But yeah, I'm just looking to further my foresight skills, which I had been growing at Idea Couture at Cognizant, but
cool.
also through these futures thinking specialization from Institute for the Future, which I just finished like a couple of weeks ago.
Cool.
And yeah, the first thing that I comes to mind is that episode from Star Trek where they try to prove that Data is his own person, but that's because he's actually an artificial intelligence, and in a more like realistic sense, I love this experiment that they did with this type of slime mold, where they try to modify the transit system for different cities, and it actually finds better pathways to it.
Okay.
And I've also been thinking about this in the sense of future mobility and how this will be done with artificial intelligence, right? So coming from Mexico, I just know that AI is going to be key to unlocking that transit for everyone.
Great. So great to have you here. I hope this workshop can, inspire a lot of your creativity and curiosity around the topic. And I will be also very happy to get your insights on this. Okay, so let's move on. John, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi. Hello, everybody. So I teach entrepreneurship at various universities in the Washington, D.C. area and advise startups that go through the National Science Foundation I-Core program or various accelerator programs for startups around the Commonwealth of Virginia. So I'm interested in this topic partly on my own because I worked in AI back in the early days when it was just getting started. And I'm advising numerous startups now that have an AI component to their offering. So plus as I made a note in my Post-it note, I love this intersection of the topic and the tool. And I don't know if makes any sense, but it was triggered by the fact that that's my thought on almost everything. Keep calm and carry on. But also specifically in this area, I think everybody that would come to a call like this is on the AI for Good bandwagon. And my slice of that is to just be very calm and dispassionate about how we move forward and tackle the issues and do so in a very thoughtful way.
Cool, awesome. I like your mantra. I think it's something we can all apply in our lives, and I'm sure also the Queen of England relates pretty much to that. Although this is what we think she does. Anyway, so thank you very much, everybody, for your introductions and also for being here. It's really great. We have a pretty diverse and quite well-informed group of participants. I'm very curious to see what we can obtain from this workshop. But don't be afraid. It's really, it's an opportunity, it's a space for us to discuss this tool and brainstorm some possibilities around it. So as discussed, I will first introduce you the tool, what it's about. Then we're gonna go into some risks areas of the tool number 2, and then we're gonna do a retrospective. So ethical OS, so ethical operating system. It's a tool designed by the Institute for the Future and the Omidyar Network. The Institute for the Future is an organization, a world leader in strategic foresight. So they are dedicated into supporting organizations, understanding what are signals and drivers of change that can impact their organizations and the market in which they operate, and how there are scenarios into the future that they may consider to strategically start guiding the organizations to areas or possible futures that they may want to have, and then make those futures happen. So in regards to ethical OS, they created this tool with the support of this NGO to start understanding what are potential areas of risks that digital technologies can face before they're deployed into the market. So the point is, what is important to keep in mind is that we cannot see the future in advance. We don't have like a crystal ball app, kind of, to see what's going to happen. But what we can do is brainstorm, kind of, what are possible futures, what are possible scenarios that could happen given what we know today. And this is what we're going to do today. We're going to start identifying what are possible What are feasible, realistic signals that we see today, information we know from today that may impact the way a technology may be used or may affect the society or users in general when they're interacting with an application that has AI. So this tool helps asking ourselves, what if the technology we're building will someday be used in an unexpected way? How can we hope to be prepared? What new categories of risk should we pay attention to? And which design, team, or business model choices can actively save us or users, community, society, and your company to address or to tackle those risks? So this is essentially a thinking exercise to start envisioning what are potential areas that we need to take care of starting today. So again, this is to help interdisciplinary teams and organizations, technology developers, product managers, engineers, and others to start brainstorming and start equipping their teams and organizations into what are possible scenarios that we need to take care today. So we don't need to risk it, right? We don't need to deploy the technology and then see what happens and then see what are the impacts, not only to society, but then also to our own organization, monetarily, but also reputational wise, and also ultimately lose customer trust. So this is at the bottom line of any organization to start understanding what are potential ethical implications of their technologies. Consumers more and more care about their data, care about how an application is going to impact their lives and is impacting also the lives of other people, the environment. So it is in the interest of every organization to start addressing these topics. So now I'm going to play this video. It's a short one, and it presents the key 8 risk areas that this toolkit embodies, and also some examples on how this is being used, and it's related in current signals that we see in the market. So let's have a look into it. Great. So this was an overview of these key main risk zones. As you saw in the video, there is a risk area around truth, disinformation, and propaganda. And this is essentially how the application you're building could affect what certain groups in society understand as truth, and how this can start inciting certain reactions in society. The risk zone 2 is about addiction and the dopamine economy. The number 3 is about economic and asset inequalities. 4, machine ethics and algorithmic biases. The 4 is surveillance state. 6, data control and monetization. The 7 is implicit trust and user understanding. And the number 8 is about hateful and criminal actors. So today we're going to focus on the risk zone 4 and the number 7. So that's machine ethics and biases, and then trust and user understanding. And the reason for that is that the idea with this tool is that you assess with an interdisciplinary team in your organization which of these risk zone areas better suit or are most relevant for the application that you're developing. So you don't have to go through each one of these risks and questions, but rather focus on those that are the most relevant. But since we don't know, what the future entails and the complexity of all applications, it is then essential that you have an interdisciplinary team, people like ethicists, software developers, but also social scientists and specialists in the technology itself or the market in which you are working, that to take part in this assessment to understand what aspects or which risk zones are the most relevant for this. So how does this work? This toolkit has 3 tools. The first one is called Tomorrow's Risk Today, and it's an overview of scenarios or of signals that we have today. So these are news from the media, from social media, from the internet in general, that showcase how technology is already presenting risks to society. So signals are normally indicators of change of how things are normally done, and we can already start identifying a transition into a new way of seeing things. So we are not going to do that today, but it is just for you to know that this exists. This is part of the toolkit. Tool number 2 is a checklist. It's a set of questions that the Institute for the Future put together to identify emerging areas that could harm or are most critical for your team to start tackling today. So we're going to select the 2 risks as identified before, but you will have access. You can also download the toolkit, the entire toolkit from their website, and have a look at the different questions that are incorporated in this. And then finally, the tool number 3 is future-proofing strategies. So it is essentially to start brainstorming how you can mitigate those risks you identified. So create a governance or measures that can help you address those risks and make sure that your preferred scenario comes as close as possible to reality. So that's the concept overall. So today we're going to focus on a product, a use case on a supermarket. It's called Smarket. You can click on here and let me see if this brings you there or not. So this is the link. I'm going to share it with you on the chat. So here you're going to have a use case of a smart supermarket, of a case study of an IoT-powered supermarket that leverages users' shopping patterns to enhance the user experience. So it's a mobile app that users can use to enter a supermarket, complete their shopping without having to do a checkout at the end, and then they can exit the supermarket and just complete their purchase. So there is a very nice video on this. This case study was conducted using Google People and AI Guideline for Designing for AI, and there is a series of workshops on this. So if you're interested, feel free to look into it. What are elements of this guideline, and also insights that we gather from those 2 workshops. At the end, you can also have a look at the prototype of this tool, or the one that we ideated. Is an MVP version of this, so you can have a look on how it is intended to work, and also a prototype of an organization that already has a close to the concept approach already deployed in the market. So for you to have an idea of this concept overall, of this smart supermarket, here there is a video of a product that is already in the market from Amazon. It's called Amazon Go. Maybe some of you are familiar with it. So let's have a look into it.
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So, how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
Perfect. So that's the concept overall. Later, if you have more time, you can have a look into this video. It's a similar concept, which describes in more detail how IoT is used to track the user journey within the supermarket, kind of cookies in real life, to better understand their shopping patterns, where they stop and what they shop, to then provide them with recommendations in the mobile application. So that's the concept. That's the product that we will keep in mind to start evaluating what are ethical risks associated with this kind of product. So as we saw in the video, the user journey is as follows, or these are critical moments as is indicated in Google's guideline designing for AI. And critical moments are essentially steps in the user journey where trust in the application can be broken, can be gained or lost. So, and this includes the onboarding section where users download the app and then they start inserting their contact information, their credit card information, their address name, and even eating preferences for this case of a supermarket. And then starting the shopping experience when they enter the supermarket, they scan their barcode, and then they access the shop. So it's essentially to make sure that the app works or not, but it's just to make sure that it's an identifier. So this has the data of the customer, and they will be recognized then in the shop that they are entering and that they're starting shopping. Then obtaining recommendations for products of their interest. So they will be walking around the supermarket, and depending on the area they are, there will be sensors that will detect who they are. They will identify what are their eating preferences, and then they will get recommendations on discounts or inform them where they can find products in the shop that are of relevance for them. And then they will have the possibility of just simply grabbing the products, inserting them into their shopping bags, and continue the shopping experience and exit finally the shop without having to make any line as we saw in the video, and then completing their experience and being a happy customer, so to say. So that's it. Do you have any question up until now? No? Okay, perfect. This sounds good. So it seems that things are clear, and if during the workshop you feel like you want to ask anything, just feel free to reach out. Okay, so here we are. Now we can move directly to section 2, which is the tool number 2. So as mentioned before, we will focus on two risk zones, number 4 and number 7. And the approach to using this tool is essentially first, as discussed, we select a technology or use case that you're working on with your team, and then you read through the sections of the 8 risk zones with your team, and then you start selecting what are the zones that are the most relevant for you. Then you go and you do some desk research, and you start evaluating signals that you see in the market, you see reported, that are real examples of these risks being presented in society nowadays. And then you start documenting them and see if there is any pattern around them. And then finally, you use the checklist, a list of questions that are available in this tool to start brainstorming, identifying what are the potential effects of deploying this technology in the market, and then the effects in society in general once this is launched in the market. So, and then finally, you start identifying mitigation options to correct those risks you have identified. So let's start directly into the risk sum number 4, which is about machine ethics and algorithmic biases. So this is essentially about biases that are embedded into the algorithms. So for many people, it is not clear actually, or many people are not aware that many of our natural biases as humans and cultures can be reflected into the way a data set is designed, into the properties, into the data that is collected, into the features of this data, and then the model itself, which then translates into expanding biases overall. So an example is, racial recognition. If people of certain racial groups are disqualified of certain opportunities, for example, or are not very represented in a data set, they may not be given the best recommendations or may not be given the best options, or the opposite, they may be recognized as not a certain feature, certain characteristics that may not have any relationship with them. So there are well-known cases of HR applications that reject people given their gender or their ethnicity, and that's definitely something we don't want to propagate in society. So the idea is that we now evaluate what are potential biases that we may have within this mobile app that we just saw in the smart supermarket that may involve certain biases. So what we're going to do is that we will split this set of questions into two sections. In the first one, we're going to address the first three questions, and in the second section, we will address the following three. So we will dedicate first 10 minutes on this to start brainstorming on the answers of these three questions. Since it is very detailed and we don't have this time availability within 1 hour, I decided to split it in this way. So you can feel free to answer only one question if you feel comfortable, or address all of the three questions with a sticky note on each, so as you like. So the first question is, does this technology make use of deep data sets and machine learning? If so, are there gaps of historical biases in the data that might bias the technology? So on your understanding so far of the application, what do you think are the areas in which bias can be incorporated into the app? Have you seen instances of personal or individual bias enter into your product's algorithms? How could this have been prevented or mitigated? This is in case if you know of a similar application, let's say a food app or a supermarket app, that you may have known or may have experienced that may incorporate some biases. And finally, is the technology reinforcing or amplifying existing biases? So again, the idea is that you stretch your mind and start thinking, okay, how this smart mobile app, supermarket mobile app, may incorporate biases and amplify those biases in users and then ultimately in society. So let's dedicate, I will focus first on 5 minutes and then see how things go, and then I will extend it to 5 more, and then we can have the discussion. Is there any question at the moment? Okay, doesn't seem to be the case. So let's go for it. So again, just focus on the first three questions. And remember, you can use sticky notes from the left-hand side here. Just click here, and then you can select the sticky note you like. Okay, Emily, since these are images actually of the presentation, I saw your question in the chat. So the links are not working, but you can download this toolkit from the website. So the link is, I'm gonna show you. So if you go to this slide with the 8 risk zones, in the top right corner here, if you click it there, and it leads you directly to the page. And then here you can download it. So, and then in that PDF, then you have access to the links and everything. Okay. All right. Good. So it looks like we gathered some good content, although not much in the middle. I will try to distribute it later. I think we can move on directly to the next three questions, and after this, then we can start discussing our answers. So the three questions are: who is responsible for developing the algorithm? Is there a lack of diversity in the people responsible for the design of the technology? So since this is a hypothetical case, this may not be very applicable, but the idea is essentially that we recognize the importance of having interdisciplinary teams, or at least teams that are aware of bias. Then how will you push back against the blind preference for automation, the assumption that AI-based systems and decisions are correct and don't need to be verified or audited? And then finally, are your algorithms transparent to the people impacted by them? Is there any recourse for people who feel they have been incorrectly or unfairly assessed? So essentially, I think here the intention is that we start identifying how we're going to share to the user how transparent the algorithm is, how transparent the data collection and the data use is. So here you can just provide insights into how you think such an application like the Smart Supermarket app should display information on transparency and how the data is being used and collected, and how automation should be verified to make sure that the recommendations are effective. So what kind of control mechanisms should there be in place in the application so that is the automation is continuously based on the interests and the needs of the user. So let's dedicate again 5 minutes on this. Is there any question around these questions? Okay, so it's not the case, so we can move on and then spend 5 minutes on this, and then we can discuss in the group. Exactly. So now the idea is to put the sticky notes in the second frame on the top, which is called Risk Zone 4.2. Okay, time's up. So let's go through what we have put together here. Now, let's do it voluntarily. So any of you who would like to start presenting what you wrote in here and then share your ideas with the rest of the group. Any volunteer?
Hey everybody, I can go.
Mhm.
So I'm this sort of light yellow sticky note color. I started with absolutely people who've been using Amazon and Whole Food orders like historically would walk into stores with really thick data profiles. So there's going to be a lot of data that sits on their individual record with Amazon. And so instantly if we assume, which I would say is a big assumption, that people appreciate personalized recommendations of food and things to buy, it would have stronger prediction and accuracy on what those people might like versus someone who doesn't have that historical data coming in.
Right.
And then there are all sorts of ways that we can think about how people who have been using Amazon and Whole Foods historically, how that is associated with socioeconomics, with class, with education, all sorts of other variables, which means that people would walk in and potentially have very different initial consumer experiences of a store.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what do you think could be a risk associated with the fact that some customers may not have any history with the shop, as you were saying, and therefore the shop doesn't have any information about them and may essentially extend a bias into what the store thinks is their preference. So how do you think that could be counteracted? What kind of what approach could be used by a store to get started in having an idea of who the customer is to better provide relevant and unbiased recommendations? That's for the entire group. What do you think? Like, how do we manage? I know that this is a key point for AI developers. When you don't have enough data about your customers, how do you actually provide recommendations of relevance? Otherwise, your customers will just leave the shop, will leave the website or the mobile app, will not use it. So how can we make sure that we provide relevant recommendations when we don't have any data about them? And then it's not biased. So we don't use historical data and then start providing recommendations for new customers. So yeah, any thoughts on that?
I mean, I'd say always having the option to not have recommendations at all would be great. That's what I'd go for if I had it. But that's kind of where my answer was going for too, since I really see a lot of the population of Mexico just not having a digital profile at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, just thinking about how they would go into this store and have the best experience possible, I mean, it'd be very difficult to design for that. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just in that regard, not having access to how we could help them better is kind of outcasting them already.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah, it'd just be interesting to see how this could be done, for example, in Mexico, where that happens, or any other countries, right?
Right. Yeah. So so I think this is very linked with the next risk zone. I don't think we are going to have the opportunity to go through it, looking at how the time evolves. This was actually an experiment also to see, how far we could go. But please feel free to look through it. I will also organize follow-up events to go through the rest of the risk zones and understand in depth what the questions are about. So, but yeah, it has to do with this because it is essentially if I'm interacting with an application that is giving me recommendations and then something so sensitive like food or groceries in general, um, if I'm getting recommendations and they are not relevant to me or in some way is biased, like it's giving me things that because I am from this ethnicity or have this age or have this gender or look in a certain location, I'm supposed to like certain products. So it may not be really relevant for me. So how do we address that? So I know of a mechanism that is being used by organizations, which is essentially to ask for feedback in the sense of thumbs up or down. So do you agree with this recommendation? So YouTube does, so Google in general uses a lot this feedback mechanism, and also LinkedIn. I think most applications, more IT organizations that are large are pretty much aware and are developing AI, use feedback mechanisms to make sure that the recommendation system works. So you train the model with that. But it is inevitable to start with new clients, new customers. And then also related with trust. So you need to inform them, why you're providing them certain recommendation. So if something is wrong, then I know, okay, it's because they're using this data. So I see that regularly on YouTube. They say like, because you watch this, we recommend you this. Or someone you follow or a channel you follow, because you follow that channel, we recommend you this. Or because you watch this video and so. So we see that understanding ethical biases um, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to ignore the product or remove it from the market, but it is essentially figuring out opportunities. So how might we address this potential bias in the product? Okay, so anybody else would like to share thoughts from what you posted here?
it seems like with something like this, it's an especially crucial step to make sure that we've done, basic checks on, like what are all the potential harms that could come from this technology? What are the absolute worst cases? And really make a complete inventory of what this might be, but also doing the homework of connecting the moving parts of the social technical system with those potential harms and with figuring out, how to tweak them. So like audit the system is like, like this short, but you have to do this basic thing. First step before releasing something like this, just audit the system. Yeah.
Absolutely, I agree. Now, how to audit the system and what to look at, I think is a question. So,
Yes.
do you know of auditing approaches?
Yes. So, I mean, one of the, so one of the companies I work with right now is called Babel AI. They have, a well worked out and, somewhat public approach to AI auditing. There's lots of ways to do it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. It would be really nice. I mean, if you can share with us the link of that organization, just to have an idea, what are the criteria that are considered when evaluating a system, or if there is any standardization, because I think the topic is pretty much relatively new. I mean, I know that research in AI has like 50 years of development, but kind of a standardizing processes in industry, I believe, is still kind of fresh. It would be really interesting to have a look into that. Okay. So, any other thoughts on this?
I mean, I wrote a lot of stuff. I'm not sure if I want to go through all of it. But yeah, I mean, as a Mexican that's been working with Canada and US based teams, I can definitely see how the teams that conform it, even if multicultural, are only teams, for example, including a Mexican, but I'm a Mexican that had access to top education, and I'm technically a one percenter here, even though I win less money than someone working at McDonald's in the US, for example, right? So, I mean, those sort of like nuances in how those profiles enter these teams are what define what these systems end up being, right? And I've been part of at least design thinking and foresight projects where, yes, some of the perspective is thought of, but it's not really localized or anything, especially if it's being applied in Mexico, but it's being designed in the US or something like that. But yeah, that's only my personal experience in this topic.
I see. Perfect. Good. So then one more thought before we move on to the wrap up of the workshop. So feel free to share your thoughts now. Any other thoughts? Fuza or Simin? Okay. Good, perfect. So I really liked, or I believe this is true, that users should also have the opportunity to correct automated decisions. And there is a very tricky thing because we are using AI because we want to reduce the work, the burden to customers. So there should be a quick, easy, and funny way to do that. But there should always be an opportunity for users to correct or to go back to have the human in the loop kind of concept, especially when we're talking about high risk um, applications like in healthcare or in the financial system. So yeah, that's also very important to keep in mind. Good. So as discussed, this is the idea with this was to having a taste of what this toolkit looks like. Due to time limitations, we will not be able to go through the following one. But what I would really like to do is to have a brief retrospective of this workshop. So you can remain in contact. I will organize following ones to address the other risk zones. But for today, I just want to learn what you liked about the workshop, what you learned, what lacked, what you think should have been integrated, and what were you looking for, what were you launching for. So let's dedicate maximum 5 minutes on this, and then we can wrap up the event. Let's go for it. You can use these sticky notes from here, or just take them from the left hand side.
Is it okay if the comments are slightly picky? Just as a Miro user,
Yeah.
like I noticed, for example, the starting point was not centered. Like I just went into blank space, and it's something that I used to do without knowing, but I know it's a big game changer for when you're getting to the Miro part. I'll write it down.
Sure. Yes, please. Do that. Thank
I'm
you.
sorry if it seems very picky.
No, it's all right. It's
I
just for me
showed
to
this one.
understand.
I showed this pet peeve. Where are you being dropped on the board when you first landed?
Yeah.
I feel it's just as a I feel like it's for a lot of users, and even for experienced Miro users, it's a point of confusion where their first interaction with the session is, where am I on this board? I don't understand, because it hasn't been set, for them to have a view of the whole board.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand. Although this can be set up like the starting point, like where you joined. So, but I will have a look into that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, but thank you. It's just good to know, like what are the needs of the regular visitors of this workshop. Thank you. Amazing. Great. Thank you, everybody. So I will then review your feedback after the workshop. Thanks a lot for sharing it with me. I would just like to give some opportunity to all of you, if you would like to share something with the rest of the participants, something what you learned or something you take with you for your work, or any questions you may still have that may be interesting to continue exploring. Okay, how did you find the tool?
It can feel challenging to use without really knowing the full picture of the case study. That's one of the things that stood out, but where it just felt like a great introduction to, like, why would you want to use this if you have more of the context and you can answer more of the questions? So it's not like it felt like it was a limitation on the workshop itself. It's more like, oh wow, this tool must be much more powerful when you have a lot more information.
Right.
Yeah.
Understand. Okay. Thank you.
The case study is interesting too. It's a good
Okay.
one.
Yeah, I'm happy you like it. Feel free to look through the information, and yeah, hope it's helpful. Okay, good. So if there is no other feedback, I would like to thank you once again for taking part in this. We should remain in contact. I hope you can join me in follow-up workshops on the tool. And feel free also to add me on your social media, in LinkedIn specifically. And also, I will upload the recording of this workshop later on YouTube. So if you would like to have to review it for your own interest, you can find it on YouTube. And I will make a link on the group portal in Miro. So thanks a lot, and I wish you a very nice rest of the day.
So much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.